Hello, my name is Lisa Laws. I'm a transpersonal therapist and hypnotherapist and addiction specialist based in Dubai and the UK. And I'm here today with Andrea Anstiss. She is a transpersonal psychotherapist based in Dubai and New Zealand. Andrea and I have worked together for many years, hosting workshops mostly around inner child healing and the kind of core identity shame that often lives underneath that. Andrea is here today to talk to you about holotropic breathwork and what you might expect in a holotropic breathwork experience. So Andrea, what does holotropic breathwork actually mean?
So I'm going to spend probably about 30 minutes introducing to you, what holotropic breathwork is all about. But the word holotropic is really two parts to it. So holo means wholeness and tropine is moving towards. So holotropic breathwork is about moving towards wholeness. And there's really three main elements. We just taught together in Abu Dhabi, a beautiful workshop with some lovely participants, and so you just come in wherever you want with your experiences because you've breathed a few times before and you were fabulous supporting me. So those three elements are the full and connected breath. And so the breath takes us into those expanded or non-ordinary states of awareness. And so for centuries, that whole practice of pranayama, which so many yogic people use, we know that expands our consciousness. And then on top of that, we have the safe and sacred holding space. So it allows people to really drop in to their psyches and into those materials that need to come forward for healing. And then that third really important element is an incredible soundscape of music, which also takes people into that non-ordinary space.
Yeah, the music's pretty loud. You can't miss it in a breathwork workshop, can you?
Yeah, especially that first hour. So the first hour is very intense, percussive, kind of shamanic music that really drives the breath and supports the breath, and then also takes you into your body, into those impulses in the body. The second hour of the music is more emotionally based. So it may be, if we thought about it in terms of the chakras, it's going to stimulate more emotional material that might be unresolved from childhood, where there's still some charge that will help to come up in the process of holotropic breathwork. And there's a lot of kind of heart energy in that second hour. And then the third hour is very much more spiritual, chanting. It's music that helps to integrate what's going on. Yeah.
And so, just to back up a little bit, what are the benefits of holotropic breathwork? Why would someone actually do it?
Yeah, one of the major things about holotropic breathwork that kind of differentiates it from other forms of experiential therapy is the huge focus on the inner healer. So those three elements create the space whereby it's so easy to access your inner wisdom or your inner healer. And so essentially, you are provided with this environment where the psyche gets to kind of, it's like there's a scanning of the psyche that takes place, and whatever material that needs resolution, whatever it is that you're going through in your life at the moment, your psyche will bring up to the surface what needs to be healed. So the focus is so much on trusting the inner healer rather than trusting that outward expert.
I think that's so important because a lot of sort of therapy and energy healing is very therapist-led. Therapists saying, okay, this was your past life, or this is this, and this is where you have toxicity. And what I love about breathwork is that it's just within you. The facilitator and the music and the breathing and the atmosphere just facilitates that space to get into the realm of the inner healer, which I love. Really love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not to say that we've done amazing training to become certified holotropic breathwork facilitators, so we can really hold that space.
Exactly.
And if anyone gets stuck there, we're able to facilitate through it. But absolutely, there's this real invitation that, you know, your body, your wisdom, your psyche knows what it's doing. It's so in charge, and that we have, you know, this amazing mechanism inside of us that is moving us towards wholeness. And then we just bring all of this awareness, and so those patterns or those stuck places, they can come forth for healing, for integration, for acceptance, for being loved.
I'm just thinking of something, but they can take out the pause on the edit. Where was my mind going with that? It was really... So, is holotropic breathwork always safe for people to do?
You know, we do we give potential participants a medical form to fill out at the beginning. So there's a few contraindications, and you know, one of them is pregnancy, and there's a few others. So we check thoroughly to make sure that our candidates are in the right place.
Yeah.
But for most people, it works well.
And I know it very, very rarely happens, but if someone does need support during their breathwork experience, they're, you know, experiencing some re-trauma or something, then there is the support there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is, you know, one of the major elements is that the space is very supportive. So the way it's set up, where you're paired up, so you have a sitter the whole time that you're breathing. So there's someone right next to you as you're breathing. And then there's the facilitators and the assistants. And then at the end of the breath work, sometimes there can be some kind of stuck places in your body. So we assist our participants by doing some body work, which helps them to move through any blockages that might remain after the breath work. You know, one of the things is that, you know, those traumas, sometimes there's traumas by what we didn't receive, you know, that neglect, that not getting enough attention, not enough mirroring. So by having your sitter and by having those assistants and the facilitators very much focused on you, there's a real healing that can take place around that deficit of attention.
So they're at your beck and call, really,
Exactly.
the whole time you're breathing.
Exactly.
And I have to say, I've experienced times when I've gone into the breathwork experience and not moved at all, really, for 3 hours, or barely moved.
Sure.
And I remember a particular time where I ended up on my head, and I don't know if it was a rebirthing, but it was, you know, suddenly there were people holding my legs and helping me to sort of, you know, almost do a somersault the other way, and I just felt so supported and so safe with that.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. No. So, I mean,
Very memorable.
Yeah, and so those realms, those 4 domains that we enter into. So there's, because you're just bringing it up now, there's the sensory realm, the biographical, the kind of personal life realm. There's the domain of the perinatal and the domain of the transpersonal. So you're just bringing in the whole sensory or the body felt experiences. So in holotropic breathwork, we so encourage you to listen to those impulses of the body and follow those impulses, because those impulses are what's going to lead you into those other domains. And you know, sometimes there can be heat, there can be cold, there can be intense physical feelings, sometimes even cramping. And we just encourage you, the golden rule is to intensify. So we encourage you to go into it, to go through it. And there's kind of cycles of energy you'll notice as you do holotropic breathwork. And so the more you go into it, you'll go deeply into the experience will intensify, and then you'll come out the other side having had some insight, some understanding, some release of some kind. So that's the sensory realm, which is really important, that body felt experience. Then the next realm we talk about is the biographical. So material from the time that you're born right up until now, which is the stuff that, you know, we deal with that in our workshops, you know, in the child workshops. But whatever needs to spontaneously arise, you know, maybe some memory from childhood where you didn't get a chance to fully express some feelings. And they could be, you know, not just feelings of sadness, it could be feelings of delight.
And I've seen that in workshops.
Exactly.
Yeah, real joy and bliss.
Exactly. It could be feelings of just absolute wonder and bliss that you had to keep very, you know, if you come from a straight sort of family where you weren't allowed to get too excited. And there could be more difficult traumas that come up and they have that space to be expressed in the breath work. So that's the biographical. And then the perinatal is that realm, you were just talking about it now, where maybe you had that kind of birth experience, which you felt also on a sensory level. So these realms, they kind of overlap. We talk about them as 4 different layers, but actually, you know, they all mix and mingle together. So that perinatal, you know, we had this incredible period of time from conception to when the umbilical cord was cut. And Stan Grof, the pioneer of holotropic breathwork, talks about 4 different matrices that we go through in that perinatal time. So there was so much that went on where we've moved from being aquatic creatures to being having to survive kind of on our own or with some of our mother's support in that period. So there's these perinatal imprints that have to have some impact on our psyche, so we can get in touch with some of those imprints. And then the 4th realm, which we all absolutely love, is the transpersonal. Yeah. So I think we're all a bit addicted to having those transpersonal experiences, which is, you know, where we go beyond the skin encapsulated ego, which is the way Alan Watts described it. So we're going outside of time and space, you know, how we usually perceive time and space into these other realms. So I'd love to hear from you some transpersonal experiences you've had, but it's, you know, sometimes where you identify with animals and actually feel like you're becoming an animal, or you identify with an entire race of people, or you become one with, you know, a tree or a river. You become one with the cosmos. You have a sense of yourself flying out there. You talk to ancestors. You connect with angels or deities from your spiritual experience, you know, your religious upbringing or other religions. And, you know, they're just often those experiences are so kind of blissful and ecstatic because we remember who we really are in those. You know, we remember our real cosmic identity rather than this kind of narrow life that we're often living.
So I remember when we did the breathwork in Abu Dhabi recently, people had such a range of different experiences, and a couple of people had very shamanic, transpersonal, so beyond the person experiences, and other people were definitely moving through biographical stuff or just in the sensory body. Can you tell us a little bit about, can we plan it? Can we expect this? Because I know there was a sense from some people, oh, I wish I'd had that experience instead of the one I had. Can you talk on that?
Yeah, you know, your inner healer is going to give you the experience that's perfect for you. So, you know, we in that sharing at the beginning, we often ask people, what is it that's brought you to holotropic breathwork? And then we encourage them to let go of all of that. So even though, you know, we come with certain ideas, we want to surrender. That word surrender is so important to whatever our inner healer is bringing us, because that power within, that incredible wisdom that we have within, which is often blocked out, overshadowed by the noise of the world, it's never wrong. And it's going to bring up for us, it's going to bring to the surface you know, stuff that's going to support us in our life today. So there's no accident about what's brought up. So, yeah, does that answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so any breathwork workshop can just be experienced differently at different times by different people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes
so to let go of all expectations and just enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what can people expect on the day?
Yeah, so let me just explain to you the structure of the day. Yeah. So the structure of the day is that we come together and we do a little bit of a talk about the role of the sitter and the role of the breather and how to breathe. So the actual breathing is super, super simple. And then we do a bit of introductions, and then we get into the 3-hour breathwork journey. So people are paired up. Sometimes they already come with a partner that they want to work with, or they come with someone that they know they don't want to work with. So we pair, everyone's paired up, and then there's mattresses set up around the world, around the world, that would be good.
Feels like the world when you're actually there though, doesn't it?
That is the
world.
Yeah, it's our world. And also available eye masks, so that experience becomes deeply internalized. So we kind of block out the light and other distractions other than the very loud music. So with those pairings, one person decides, that they want to breathe in the morning, so they breathe for the whole 2.5 to 3 hours. And the sitter is there really holding the space, being the good mother, good parent / slave, looking after their breather. And then at the end of that 2.5, 3 hours, the breather will feel complete. And if not, if there's something that still needs to move through, then we'll offer some body work. Then they'll go to another space, and the breather will do what we call a mandala, which is just a drawing in a circle, lines, colors, and designs that really help the breather externalize, express without using words how their journey was. So it's that first externalization of their journey. And then they will go off with their sitter and speak in detail about how their journey was. And then we have usually like a fruit at lunchtime, something very light, because we're going to do that whole story all over again in the afternoon. And then usually about 5:30 that's done, and we come together for a dinner. So there's a real sense of, what I love is there's a real sense of community with holotropic breathwork. So we eat something, because by then we're starving, and then we come together for a big sharing where people just get to speak. They get to use their time, so they might get to speak for 5 or 7 minutes with their mandala, with their drawing that they've done, about how their journey was, and also they can talk about how the sitting was. And then we talk about integration, how we're going to support our participants afterwards, how they can support themselves, how they can support each other.
Oh, that's great, thank you. And I just wanted to also point out that to honour that, the inner healer, when the breather goes to share with the sitter after the session, the sitter just receives, is a compassionate listener, I believe you described it as. So it's not like we're going to ask loads of questions and relate to things or try and be a therapist and analyse it. We're just simply receiving information.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really important to preserve that safe place for the breather.
Yeah, no, totally, Lisa. It's about being that compassionate witness and just giving the breather that time to, that's such a rare and beautiful experience. And I remember once in Tasmania having that experience. It really touches me with a beautiful woman who just sat, and she really said so little, and I had this huge journey, and I was just able to explain this whole journey, and she listened so intently and with so much respect, and it's very healing to be heard in that way. So we set that up for our breathers, and again at the end, it's like they've got 5-7 minutes to speak uninterrupted about their experience with the whole group hearing.
Great. Is there anything else that you want to share about holotropic breathwork, Andrea?
Let me just have a quick scan here if there's anything else. just really to honor Stan and Christina. Stan was this incredible pioneer who started his life in Czechoslovakia, and he took people on LSD journeys, and he's an LSD psychedelic therapy pioneer. And then, all of that use of drugs was outlawed in the 60s. And in the early 70s, he went to Esalen, which is where he met his wife Christina, and together they created holotropic breathwork to take people into those same expanded states of awareness that LSD and other psychotropic drugs had take people into. And of course, with the holotropic breathwork, because it's breathing and music that takes us into those expanded states, there's a whole lot more space for negotiation. So, if you're taking a substance, it kind of digests in you, and you don't have control. Holotropic breathwork, you have so much more control. So you can go into some expanded, non-ordinary state, and go through something, and then you can kind of, 15 minutes later kind of open your eyes and realize, oh, I'm in Dubai, and there's Lisa, and there's, I'm in Andrea's lounge, and then increase your breath and go back into it again. So there's more of a sense of safety.
Yeah. And if people are worrying about, well, I'm a bit neurotic, or I'm a bit anxiety prone, will I be able to do this? I mean, Stan and Christina worked with deeply troubled psychiatric cases.
Stan definitely did with his LSD research, but there's been, I was just reading some statistics, something about 30,000 people doing holotropic journeys, and of course, there's been all sorts of, people from all sorts of backgrounds, and the beauty of holotropic breathwork is there's a safe space to express it all. So some people have very silent, quiet journeys, and some people, it's like, finally, here's a space to express what I need to express. And that deep expression of feelings is what moves us through, moves us to that serenity, to that peace.
Great, thank you, Andrea. Anything else that you want to say in this introduction?
No, I'm really looking forward to doing holotropic with you again in Abu Dhabi, and maybe in the UK when you move there.
Yes.
So, thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you all for hearing us today. And Andrea is a certified holotropic breathwork facilitator. So she has been through all the training, and is that and her own long experience as a transpersonal psychotherapist, really ensures you're in very safe hands when you breathe with Andrea. So we look forward to seeing you on a holotropic breathwork day.
Yes, thank you.